Greetings, friends, and welcome to Terp 10 with Kyle and Merc. Damn it. As we often do, I have made a bit of a mistake. So this week, Kyle and I are going to talk about one of our favorite topics, all of the ways we've disappointed you, our listeners. So Kyle, let's get started.
All right, Mike, you are absolutely correct in saying that over the course of this pod, we have omitted or incorrectly ordered or just like put things on the list that like literally didn't even qualify. We've made plenty of mistakes, and we've heard your words, listeners.
Yes.
Which actually it's been really refreshing to actually get feedback on this. It means that someone is listening and cares enough to tell us that we're idiots.
Absolutely. Not a lot of fan mail, more like fan corrections, but we're happy to have the feedback.
Yeah. In all seriousness, we really do love the feedback,
Yeah.
and we like to hear people get really fired up about what they believe was criminally overlooked. This isn't going to be a long pod. We're just going to kind of zip through some of the things we've missed. We're not going to go back and reorder our lists. We're just going to talk about some of the things that we overlooked and acknowledge those that brought them to our attention.
Yeah.
We are going to do it in classic top 10 style. It's very loose. These don't have really... I didn't put a lot of thought into the order of them. So we'll just get right into it. I got serious heat for this one from my boss, Peter. He was astounded that we did not even mention at all the Chex family of cereals in our cereal podcast.
Oh, interesting. I'm a huge fan of the corn Chex, especially. I like rice
Yeah.
Chex, but big corn Chex guy.
He correctly pointed out that we spent a lot of time talking about how the Rice Krispies successfully spun off into the Rice Krispie treat, and thought it was criminal that we failed to mention the whole Chex Mix family of Chex snacks that spawned off of the Chex cereal.
God,
So-
great point. Chex Mix are incredible.
Yeah, I appreciate Peter for that. Peter's
Foolishness.
a big fan of cereal, and so his input on this one was very much appreciated, obviously. Number 9, I'm shocked that we missed this one because we're both a huge fan. On our recognizable facial hair podcast, we critically omitted George Clooney and his permanent 5 o'clock shadow.
That's a great point.
I heard that comment from several people, but
Really?
you're gonna hear a lot from my friend Cody. He had a lot of recommendations because he listened to, I think, almost all of our pods. He was the first to point that out. I heard that from several people.
Wow. I'd love to know what George Clooney's national heritage is, because I'm guessing he might have some Eastern European or Middle Eastern blood, because he has got a hell of a beard. Hell of a beard.
Oh, he sure does.
It's sort of like your Maltese.
I hope someday I have half the beard of George Clooney.
Yeah, you will.
Number 8, I was chastised at work. If you remember on the Guilty Pleasure TV episode that Allegis put together for us, I briefly referenced a show called The Challenge, which I pitched as kind of like a general game show kind of competition.
Mm-hmm.
I was so wrong. The Challenge is like a compilation MTV show where they take a bunch of people from the real world and make them face off in challenges with a bunch of other people from like different MTV shows.
That sounds terrible.
Yes, and therefore a really, really, really good guilty pleasure show.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't do that show the justice it deserved. And so I thank Allie for pointing out my misunderstanding of the nature of that show on
I'm
the
very
Guilty
glad
Pleasure
you
pod.
corrected the record.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Number 7 comes from someone that I do not know, but you know. Number 7 was from our Redhead pod. We missed Anne of Green Gables.
Yeah, so this one is from astute listener Claire, last name redacted. So Claire and I had several English classes together in college. And Claire was one of those people who I always loved to hear what she had to say in class. She's really, really smart, really cool. Was one of my English homies back in college. So we are very glad to have had her input. I cannot explain how flattered I am that somebody as smart as Claire is listening to our pod, and I apologize for bringing her intelligence level down. But thank you for the Anne of Green Gables reference. That was a significant omission. And it does get to something we're always working on, and we always want your feedback. We are both 20-something-year-old dudes and occasionally miss out on references that the ladies in the crowd are going to understand. Yell at us. Make sure to yell at us. We can't really help you when we're talking about Major League Baseball players, but when we are talking about certain categories, yell at us and keep us in line. Claire, thank you.
Absolutely. Number 6, I got feedback from Peter again on this one, as well as my coworker and friend Gina, as well as my sister Erin. On our facial hair pod, we missed the incredibly distinctive mustache of Mr. Hulk Hogan.
Gross.
Yeah, I know. Super gross, but if you put Hulk Hogan's mustache on a face, it's so obvious that it's Hulk Hogan.
I'm pretty sure there's a bumper sticker, right? Like, I think there's a bumper sticker of just the facial hair and the bandana.
There has to be.
I am concerned, though, that given the rules of our pod as we discuss them, the bandana might split the vote a little bit.
I think though that even without the bandana, it's unquestionably Hulk Hogan.
Probably true.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got chastised a little bit on that one too, because I don't think we knew that not a lot of people knew who Danny Trejo was, but I think even still we overestimated the number of people that know or care about who Danny Trejo is.
You know who Danny Trejo is, people. You just might not know you know who Danny Trejo is.
Right. So, I think that's the end of our... Oh, and Aaron also pointed out that we missed Santa Claus, the originator of the big white woolly beard. But I think that was the end of our frozen... or our facial hair gaffes. This next one comes from my soon-to-be father-in-law, who I am horrified listens to this podcast. Up until now, I think he believed that I was, if not good enough for his daughter, at least, like, acceptable.
Yeah, like in her general realm, in her zip code.
Right. He pointed out that we missed... Ooh, some people... The origin of the term ginger is kind of up in the air. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people credit it to a character named Ginger on Gilligan's Island.
Is that really where that's supposed to come from?
I know, I think a lot of people talk about the spice, ginger.
Yeah.
But if not the origin, ginger is very much credited with the popularization of the term, as made famous by Ginger of Gilligan's Island.
Wow.
We received a stunned email from him that, we had not included that on a list of all-time famous redheads. A lot, how we do like the Beowulf dragon, like the one thing on a list, or like Wheaties with cereals, kind of like the grandfather of from which everything else has come. Yeah. The ginger, I think, is one of those. So
that's fair.
That was a big one. This next one was one that we screwed up in terms of ordering. I've been hearing from several people, most notably Kurt, who I work with, was really, really, really mad, like fired up, that we put Ocarina of Time so low on our N64 list.
No apologies. We had a good reason.
But here's his argument, and he's right.
Okay.
So we were saying that Ocarina of Time was docked because it wasn't multiplayer and it wasn't couchy enough. He pointed out that Mario 64 is also not multiplayer at all, just like Ocarina. And so he doesn't think that Ocarina necessarily should have been higher than Mario 64, but if we were so comfortable putting that one at number 1, Ocarina should not have slid all the way down to... We put it at like 7 or 8.
Now, so, I accept his logic. I do. I very much accept his logic. And I can't say this as confidently as you probably can. My sense is we might still be okay because Super Mario 64 was one of the most eminently watchable video games. So it was very couchy in the end because you could sit there and watch the person play. Like what we would do in my house is we would split one controller across 3 people. I think that was a pretty common way of playing Mario, was like you'd have a bunch of people splitting the controller.
I completely agree. But I think this is true of people that played Ocarina. They'll get really fired up about it. And I, at the time, felt pretty guilty about it because neither you or Jameson had played it and I had. And I think if we redid this list, we would have put it up a little higher. So apologies to Kurt. Number 3, this is one that we agreed on in our very first pod. And it turns out that we were the only 2 people to have this experience of eating chicken noodle soup consistently at lunch.
Yeah, I heard this from a couple people too.
We had a lot of people tell us that Cody in fact told me that chicken noodle soup had no place whatsoever anywhere near the top 10. And Quinn, our good friend, told us that the fact that we ate chicken noodle soup made us weird kids at the microwave. So, sorry everybody. We thought that more people ate chicken noodle soup. And we were provided, in a couple of instances, most notably by my brother Cam, with a viable alternative in the same family of foods, kind of. We didn't really talk about the chicken patty.
Yeah, this was to our great shame. To be fair, we knew this right away. After we did the pod, we both said, "Oh shit, we forgot chicken patties." And it's not that we forgot them on the list. We both forgot they existed. We forgot that the chicken patty was a thing, and then both had like a bolt of lightning hit each of us the next day.
It was embarrassing, and I apologize, and hopefully this makes up for it.
We apologize. We strive for authenticity, though, and that comes with it is mistakes.
Yep. Number 2 comes my favorite correction. This one comes to us from my coworker, Sarah, who listened to Caroline's fantastic top 10 list of useless school knowledge. We ranked coloring in the lines pretty high. Based on the grounds of, like, kids don't need to learn how to function within the rules at that age. That is not at all what we were being taught when we were being taught to color in the lines. Sarah told me that either her sister or a friend of hers teaches preschool, and the reason you are taught to color in the lines is just to learn basically how to use your fingers, like, in a fine... It's basically just to hone your fine motor skills. It's like pre-writing, basically how to learn learning how to hold a writing utensil in your hand and manipulate it in detail with your fingers so that when it comes time to write things, you have kind of the muscles built up in your hand, which is so intuitive. It makes so much sense. And when she told me that, it just blew my mind. And I'm glad that she told me that, because that's so cool.
It's great on 2 levels. One, it proves what all of our listeners know, either because you know us or because you've been listening, which is that we are not as smart as we think we are. And second, that's awesome because that's just a great fact. That's such a cool fact. I really like it. Alex and I, a friend of the pod, were discussing what makes a great joke, and we both agreed it's that when you hear a great joke, you feel like you should have been able to just tell it yourself.
Yeah.
That's what makes a great fact, is you say, "Oh, well, yeah, of course." I guess I didn't know, though. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, Alex said that? What an amazing thing to say about a joke.
I think, actually, if we're being strict here, I think I said it, but it was in the context of the conversation I had with Alex.
There it is. Oh, very good. But it's really fitting for this as well. I really love that concept.
Yeah.
I had this at number 1 because this is just, I will say, so far, this is the oversights that we've made so far. I'm pretty comfortable with them and us not being able to think them. There's a lot of times a lot of stuff to process and think about.
Yeah.
This one, though, we just both completely whiffed in a way that we should not have. In our 2017 Top Scores podcast, we made a strict rule that it was only movies that could not, the only movies that would be eligible were those that were nominated for no Oscars. And number 10 on that list was a movie called Victoria and Abdul, which our good friend Quinn pointed out was in fact nominated for 2 Oscars.
Yeah, not just 1, but 2.
So, apologies to anyone and everyone that worked on Victoria and Abdul. Congratulations on your 2 Oscar nominations. We are so sorry that it appeared on our dumb list.
Yeah. Don't sue us.
Yeah. And Victoria and Abdul is the only one that we have on here that just had no business being on the list. Not just because it literally did not fit a single our criteria.
Yeah, which I think nicely dovetails with sort of one of my top corrections, which is astute listener Shelby, a good friend of the pod, is often reminding me that this pod is at its best when Kyle is talking. So my bad, because that one is all me. I own Victoria and Abdul. I'm the fool who came into that dojo.
Yeah, I should have caught it though, because I knew that. I mean, yeah. So sorry everybody on that one.
Sorry on all of this.
My favorite was, I'm gonna misquote the text, but Quinn deserves shouts because as soon as we put all these podcasts up, he binged every single one of them, and as soon as he finished, he would text us all the things that we missed, and of course the things that he liked about it.
In a very loving way.
Yeah, really great, and provided us with really sincere, useful feedback, and is probably our most avid listener. So we really appreciate your feedback, Quinn. And when he texted us this one, there was no, like, preamble to it. He goes, Victoria and Abdul was nominated for 2 Oscars. And we both apologized profusely.
We both felt terrible.
And he responded with, tighten that shit up.
Yeah.
He doesn't abide that.
No.
So, those were ones that, like, I feel were pretty serious misses. I've got a bunch of honorable mentions here, and a couple of suggestions for things we missed in our not top 3.
Interesting.
So, back to Quinn. Quinn referenced the super weird and gross brother from Get Out should have been on our not top 3 for facial hair, because he has that super disgusting mustache.
I still haven't seen it. I don't know why.
I
know, it's very weird. It's gotten to the point where it's like, it's weird now that I haven't seen it.
You need to see Get Out.
I know.
It's on HBO. Just go watch it.
Is it on HBO?
Yes, just go watch it.
What I will watch it between now and the next pod. And I'll gosh,
okay.
It'll be fun because it'll be like you already know that a man landed on the moon and like I'm the one idiot who missed the announcement, and then you'll get to tell me. So we'll get to talk about how great it is once I watch it.
It's the actor from 3 Billboards, the one that like owns the billboard, basically. And
the redheaded kid?
Yeah. Picture him with like a really scraggly, nasty mustache.
Am I safe in assuming that he's a racist?
Oh, you just have to watch it. So
okay, all right.
But yes. Another from my future father-in-law, he was stunned that we did not reference Grape Nuts on our not top 3 cereals.
Hold the damn phone. Not top 3? Grape Nuts in the not top 3? I am made up of about 20% Grape Nuts. My mom loves Grape Nuts. We've talked about Grape Nuts are one of these classic cereals that you're like, oh, I'll just have a little bowl. And you don't know, but you actually had about 700 calories worth of grape nutty deliciousness.
I don't know, man. He like referenced some advertising campaign that literally referenced or alluded or compared eating a bowl of Grape Nuts to eating a pine cone. I've never actually had a bowl of Grape Nuts.
Really?
I've never had one. So
it's not like that at all. They're not like a pine cone.
Next time that your paths cross, I would really like for you guys to duke it out because his email to us was fiery.
Wow,
and your reaction just now was
I think I want to say it was on New Girl. Winston thinks that he looks like David Letterman. And so he's like imitating David Letterman, and he's like, "What's the deal?" And it's for some reason he sounds like Jerry Seinfeld. He's like, "What's the deal with grape nuts? They're not grapes. They're not nuts." And then he like does a little laugh and a whole thing. So they don't taste like grapes or nuts, but they're wonderful. Just shut up.
Gonna run through a couple more just to make sure that people that got their feedback to us are getting recognized on here. Dear friend Arthur really loved the School Lunches pod and wanted to throw in the teenager version of the Lunchable, which comes with like a full juice box and like it's like a full meal.
Oh!
That he believes have been discontinued, but thought that they bared mentioning in our honorable mentions.
Respect. So is that Arturo?
That is Arturo.
Thank you, Arturo.
So, thanks for that feedback, Arturo. Friend Connor from work pointed out nachos for school lunches. We did have Nacho Day. I think that...
I remember Nacho Day. I was never allowed.
Yeah, I more associate nachos with like ball games and sporting events, but I did enjoy a good Nacho Day every now and again. For redheads, Quinn and Connor pointed out Anna from Frozen and Kim Possible. We had referenced Kim Possible on another pod, I think our cartoon themes pod.
That is very true. We did.
Both solid honorable mentions on the redhead pod.
Yes.
Cody again pointed out that we missed Blue Eyes White Dragon on the dragon list. Did you ever get into Yu-Gi-Oh?
No.
Yu-Gi-Oh is like, or Blue Eyes White Dragon was basically like the holographic Charizard equivalent in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, a big deal. So that was a miss. Several people pointed out we missed Puff the Magic Dragon. I was okay with not having him on the list because, like, what is Puff? I don't even... People know the name, but they don't even... Like, there was a TV show, I think, maybe.
To me, Puff the Magic Dragon, the only notable thing about that is from Meet the Parents. Like,
absolutely.
It's the whole fight back and forth about Puff the Magic Dragon between Ben Stiller and Robert De Niro.
Absolutely. This one actually didn't get, like, explicitly pointed out to me, but I overheard people talking about it at work. There's this show called Married at First Sight where people just, like, get married to people they don't know.
Oh my god.
And that sounded like a good guilty pleasure show. And the last one, again, Allegius's dad. This one doesn't make it on the list because we never learned it. But it is literally the most useless thing you could ever learn in school. Kids used to be taught in the event of a nuclear attack to duck under their desks.
Duck and cover.
Duck and cover. Which makes me always think of the videos that the kids have to watch in the Iron Giant. Duck and cover, duck and cover. But
we watched that in school like as a joke, but we actually watched the real duck and cover videos in school.
It's silly because really the only reason you would want to do that is so that you wouldn't see the flesh of your classmates being seared from their bodies.
Yeah.
There's just, so, I mean, we don't have to talk about the futility of that maneuver, but I thought it mentioned...
Needless to say, it is futile, yes.
Yeah. It bore mentioning.
Yeah.
That's all I had. Did you have any more?
No, you kind of hit most of them. A lot of the feedback that I get, I forget because I have a poor memory. But a lot of it is my work friend Shelby telling me I stink and you're great. And that she hates Dylan, who has thus far lived entirely off screen.
I feel so bad for what we've done to Dylan before he's gotten on this pod.
I know, poor Dylan's coming in as like our wrestling heel, and that's really going to build up expectations.
Be patient, guys. Dylan is the best, and he will be on the pod soon.
Dylan is delightful and is the third leg of this tripod for very good reason.
Yes.
But this is a triumvirate. So, yeah, foolishness. I get that. I get Caroline telling me stuff a lot.
Longtime girlfriend?
Yes, longtime girlfriend Caroline, kind of similarly making fun of me a lot. That's generally the feedback I get.
Usually, my feedback is, it's actually kind of funny because a lot of people tell me to be quiet and let you talk.
Yeah, I get the opposite.
Funny how that goes. And just like to reiterate, we love to hear feedback on this pod, positive or negative.
Yeah,
what you liked, what you didn't.
And if you're really smart, you can trick us into doing product placement for you. So, like, if we do a top 10 cereal list and you happen to be a cereal manufacturer, send us some feedback and we will accidentally plug your cereal. So, if you're clever about it, you can trick us into stuff.
Absolutely. We've accidentally kind of lobbied for several products so far, and we just out doing that.
Accidentally. We're just like Ron Burgundy with the teleprompter. Whatever comes up on the screen, we will say.
Amen, brother. All right. Well, that is, so I don't know how we're going to do this in the future. Like, that was for our first 15 episodes. So, like, in the future, maybe we do it a little more consistently. Like, we spend like a minute or two at the beginning of each pod recapping what we missed on a previous pod. Or maybe we'll just do this all at once later down the road after another 15. We really don't know.
We'll do whatever we damn well please, because it's our pod.
We really don't know what we're doing, and it's gonna go as it goes. So, again, thanks everybody for listening. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you on next week's.
Arrivederci.
Peace.
Alrighty, friends. That was our top 10 for this week, but now we'd love to hear your top 10. So please check us out on all of our available social media outlets, traditional outlets, whatever outlets we have. Check us out on Twitter at top10km. That's all spelled out, top10km. Our email, top10km, spelled the same way, at gmail.com. Or our site, top10km.podbean.com. All forms of communication accepted, except for serial killer notes. Please don't send us any of those.
If you like the pod, be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never have to miss an episode of Top 10 ever again. If you didn't like it, please tell us why. We'll try to make the show better. Our theme music was composed by Kevin MacLeod, and our artwork was created by Erin Sant. You can check out her stuff at Sant Design on Instagram.
Alrighty, goons. We'll see you next week.